Hello, welcome to the Opinionistics. I'm your host, John Aloönæ, and along with other hosts that'll join us along the way. The reason why I'm doing this intro first, then get into the episode, because when McFarland joined the recording, he's from Colorado, by the way, we're going off to an interesting conversation, so, you know what, I'd just keep it in there. But with that being said, let's jump into it.
I really appreciate the shot here. Been looking forward to it.
Yep, it's been so long.
Yeah, it's well, it'd be so much better if life just didn't get in the way.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I hear you. So, Peter, how do you want to do this?
So, we'll wait a few minutes for a couple of co-hosts to join.
Okay.
Going.
I actually got a podcast request from somebody who hosts a nude podcast. I mean, the interviewee, doesn't have to be nude, but apparently they're all nude. And I thought, what's the point? I mean, it's a podcast. It's not like it's a video, right? So
Yeah.
So I managed somehow to turn that down. I just felt it was just a little too, even for me, a little too far out.
Even I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, you and I are in the bit much business, you know.
Yeah.
So are you originally from over the pond? You've been watching all the goings on in the past few days.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
And one of our co-hosts has joined us.
Oh,
hey.
Greetings. This is Wayne here. I am the authoree. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Running an intro, I guess.
So
you are Risk 11?
yeah.
Oh. May I ask what Risk 10 was? Just curious.
It was originally started off as a gamer tag for a console years ago.
Oh, is that right?
The username really started off as a gamer tag for a console, and then it transpired into me using it as a social media handle over time.
You know, I never had the courage to start gaming. It looks so fun to me. And I was just afraid my life would get sucked into it, you know, and also because my wife said she'd kill me. So between those two, you know.
Oh, yes.
But there is a movement afoot, which will be interesting to see with virtual reality, where not only gaming and floating like a butterfly, but allegedly, I've not seen it, but there will be like tours of the Louvre and you put on a headset and float down the canals of Venice. And that sounds kind of cool to me.
Yeah. With metaverse technology and basically virtual reality, it's becoming really interesting. The way that Zuckerberg has planned it, he wants to basically create a virtual world for people to be able to communicate. He basically wants to rule the next version of the internet.
Yeah, they're talking about Web3 and so forth, and I suppose it's possible, but I can't imagine it would be different from gaming in the sense that you got to have a good game, you know? I mean, and so if you're going to give people access to a virtual world, the question is, what are they walking into?
Anything their hearts could desire.
Yeah, well,
world game. It could be like a RPG conquest. It could involve some virtual worlds of gambling.
Well, blowing up the world might not be everyone's cup of tea, but you are right, and part of it depends on the how good the reality is, and my own guess is that while they could make it tactile, I'm not sure if that's going to catch on just because of the amount of hardware involved and bandwidth. I don't want to shock you guys, but I could be wrong. I know. It's disheartening, but still.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, is there somebody else is going to be coming on board, or are we going to row the canoe by ourselves? Or
Well, there may be a chance that other people might join us, but for now, let's just go with what we got right now.
It was just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, works for me. However you want to start, lay it on me.
Well, here's a bit of a twist.
What?
We just started the episode.
Yeah.
From the moment Wayne just came in, we just started the freaking episode.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're off to a great start.
Well, I'm riding the crazy train with you, so let's chug along and see where we go.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
So,
anything you particularly want to talk about?
Well, I originally contacted you to push a rather weird book I wrote. I don't think it's weird, but reports are. It's weird, called Tales from the Day. Oh, that was a plug. God, it felt so good. And it is, of course, available on Amazon. Oh, that felt even better. So I don't know if you are interested in that. I, of course, am interested in it, but then again, I wrote it. So and your listeners, if there's anybody out there who likes to
weird or wacky.
What's that?
Anybody that's interested or weird and wacky.
Yeah, there you go. And if anybody's interested in shark fishing in their underwear, or having a date and then getting involved with a plane crash, or roping a bear, I got the book for you. If you're more into dark tales of the night, probably not so much.
All right then. So Wayne, how have you been up to since we last met?
Well, pretty much. It's been pretty interesting, to tell you the truth. I'm pleased to say I've had a number of good responses, interviews, and stuff about the book. Oprah has not called yet, though. I think she probably lost my number, but so that's been good. But another thing that's been really interesting is that with a partner, part of my speckled career, we developed and sold a software company, and after that, got involved with helping other people sell their companies, which has led to the meeting of some really interesting people. And so between the two things, that's kept me pretty involved, although some of the deals that come our way are what I call LSD deals, where you got to be dropping acid to even consider them. So it does keep life fairly spicy, I have to say. And how goes it with you guys?
Well, life's going great for me, and I'm about to start uni in the next week or so, and just getting ready for the next few chapters, and a whole load of moolah that are coming along the way. Oh
man! Just speaking of feel-good plugs, that's a good one. So yeah, as long as something involves a lot of moolah flowing your way, I'm behind it. So that's really interesting. I don't recall what you told me about when you started this, but it's been a bit of a while now, right?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Wait, what do you mean probably? If you don't know, no one knows.
Exactly. You gotta know, Risk.
You keep imbibing those strange substances, you lose track of time. So
time flies by when you're having fun.
That's it. That's it. Pop the cap. Let's have a mid-strength. That's great. But
yeah.
It's. I also find this whole social media thing really interesting. I was involved with local radio some years ago before they all sold out, and stuff like you guys are doing, I think is the new local radio. I mean, it's a means for people to put stuff out there, and if they're good, it goes. It's like being able to run your own radio station, and if you got some talent and something to offer out there, I mean, look at the people who, speaking of money, have done really, really well with social media. Faith Biglow.
Radio.
Yep.
I think that was an acknowledgement.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you want to talk about the whole radios and that, like, we're the whole Newtown podcast in Newtown Square. Like, they're not, they're self-made. They're not forced and shoved down your throat. They're not some paid shills.
Yeah, and the other part is you don't need a truckload of money to do it. You can, as you know,
you can start off for free basically. All you need is like a decent mic.
Yep. And some of the folks who've done really well have a lot of talent and just needed a place for it to happen. The other thing I like so much is that once things start to spread, man, nothing like viral, right?
Yep.
So one person I've gotten kind of hooked on, I don't know if you guys ever listened to him, and I don't mean to plug, he's not a rival, he's all video, is Ozzy Man, who is just really, maybe I'm thinking of him because of the accents here, but he's all over the video, and crazy Australian guy with a nice, delightful, twisted view of things, and has really been going.
Anything you want to talk about, Faith or Jamie?
Very interesting. I never thought of it that way. That's for sure.
Thought about what?
There you go. So, I'm curious. Do you guys have any particular genre or type of person you like to interview, or is it just sort of?
We like having conversation. I'm a big fan of the people that are like former CEOs, former executives, or people that are working in companies or startups.
Yeah.
I'm more of the guy that's interested in entrepreneurship. Whereas like Jamie, you might be interested in interviewing like book authors, musicians, scientists, or anybody really. I'm more focused on the business side, the business guys.
Well, I'm more open to interviewing anyone, but my favorite kind of people are more on people who are music artists, actors, actresses, people in the entertainment or media industry, more the creative side of things. That's my kind of favorite.
Yeah, it really is a fascinating thing until I got involved on the business side and was CEO of a company for a while. I was fortunate or unfortunate enough, if you will, to be involved with at the time, he's passed away now, but at the time, a music and media mogul who handled some of the biggest acts at the time, who are, you probably know a few of them, people like Neil Diamond, and they handled Elvis Presley and so forth. And it was really a strange and interesting experience. One thing I found from being involved with it was that two things really, that there were a certain group or segment of the artistic community who really started believing their own publicity and were very difficult people to work with. And the other thing that I found was that no matter what the popular press or fantasy press may say, the old thing about somebody being treated badly and then saying to the person who's treating them badly, the musician or whatever, I'm not going to stand for this. You can't deal with me like that. Well, the fantasy is that the person being the baddie says, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll promote you to vice president. The reality is they throw the person out the window and there's 1,000 more people standing in line
to take his job.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like the line from The Devil Wears Prada, where the young person said something to the effect of, who wants to live like this? And the lady who ran the fashion company said, honey, everyone wants to live like this. and there's a lot to that. You guys may find it interesting. I found that as a group, country music people were probably the most decent as a group. And I think it was because they came up through the honky tonks and the bars where there was chicken wire in front of the band because people would throw bottles at them. And they really had a very good grasp on their fans and what it meant to have an audience. And they treated everybody, by and large, really quite well. So, there you go. And I have a good here's why I left the industry story, if you'd like to hear it.
Dive in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we were rolling and our contract was due for renewal. And I mean to tell you, right downtown Los Angeles, on Rodeo and Wilshire, which is the heart of the kind of the industry. And, they gave me an office and there were gold records on the wall, none of them mine, but it was still, everybody's fever dream. So after about a year of this, I went into the owner of the management company, who, as I say, is now deceased, but his family's around and I don't want to be bad-mouthing somebody who can't bad-mouth me back. But I was in their office in a meeting, and to the door comes the manager of a musical group, rock and roll group that was on the road. And the deal that the impresario had cut with this guy was that the impresario, would open all kinds of doors for the band and get them to play in venues. But the impresario, would get 50% of the gross. 50% of every dollar that came in the door would go to the impresario. And out of the rest, the band and the manager would have to pay for the hall, pay for the cops, pay for everything. And so this guy came to the door and I was sitting there, with my usual line of bullshit. I don't remember what we were doing. And he came to the door and he said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And the impresario said, no, come in. What do you want? And I was sitting there. Now, you guys know from business meetings that, that's really a rude thing to do, because I was just, a carbuncle on the back end of the meeting. I didn't know anything about anything, So the guy came in and he was really apologetic. And the impresario said, what do you want? And the guy said, look, your work with us has opened up tons of doors and we couldn't have done it without you. And I came in to see if we could modify our deal just a little bit, not much, maybe 5 points, because out of our 50%, I can't make it. I just can't pay for everything. And I've got all the records I could show you, and I'm not a lot short, but I'm a little short. And if I keep going like this, we'll just end up bankrupt. And the impresario looked at him and said, F you. No one renegotiates a deal with me. And the guy's mouth dropped open and he said, well, but so far I've made you $1 million. And the impresario said, F you again. I don't need another $1 million. And I don't need you. Get out of here. Threw him out. And I went home that night and I sat down with my wife and I said, I think we should resign, because it's very clear to me that no matter what we do, no matter how much money we make for these folks, that that you step out of what they consider line, step out of line, and you're gone. And I said, I don't want to work in an environment like that. I don't want to be around people who do that. So I left. So that was my friends all thought I was crazy. My God, you're working there and there's movies being shot and there's, big entertainers wandering around, and you left. And I said, yep. We started our software company and sold that a dozen years later and never looked back.
So what type of stuff did you do with your software company?
Well, we were business to business. We
B2B.
We created software that ran factories and tracked maintenance on things like tanks, and we had the military for a client and a bunch of other folks, and so it was quite a ride. I mean, the technology business, as you know, it's like smoke in a jar, really volatile. And after a few years of it, I called our board director, selling stock and raising capital. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not CEO anymore. I'm a stock salesman. And I didn't sign on to be, God, I sound like a grumpy guy, don't I? I didn't sign on to be a stock salesman. So, you guys either agree to put a few $1 million into the company because we need to expand, or let's sell it. And they all looked at each other and lit their virtual cigars and said, we're out of here. So we sold the company. So there you go.
In the early 2000s,
yeah.
Or
what's that?
When was this? Was this in the early 2000s or?
No, it was really not that long ago. Let's say it was after the mid 2000s. Call it 2015.
So it wasn't during the .com crash.
No. That was
the
Tech Wreck. Tech Wreck was what that was. Yeah, that was right around very late 90s and early 2000. And boy, that was a whopper, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, well, I'll never forget all the hype was. It's a new world, and
I think that stuff like that is foaming. I think stuff like that is happening right now.
Yep.
And I think we're going to have another crash.
No kidding. How much Bitcoin do you own? However much you own Bitcoin, sell it. Get rid of it. Because, that's another one. I do think cryptocurrency will go. Well, a lot of them will tank. And I think the ones that have massive use cases in real world, like being able to do online payment to people, or ones that have real value, they'll probably still stick around. But the ones that don't, like the meme tokens, like Dogecoin and all those, they'll go bankrupt. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Warren Buffett had a good comment the other day when he was asked about crypto.
Yeah.
And he said, nothing that is backed, things that are backed by no value aren't going to make it. And he's absolutely right.
What if they're backed by the technology?
Yeah. Well, I've worked with a bunch of blockchain folks, and my own opinion is, based on nothing, is that nothing's unhackable. Blockchain's pretty damn close, though.
True.
But but I do think you are right that services involving what I call representational money, tokens or whatever, if they're performing a service, like you say, allowing a payment conduit or whatever.
Cryptocurrency is actually being used in the central bank system right now. So I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard that too. What's the country in Ecuador? I think that went all
something like that.
Yeah, and they're going bankrupt because of the crash.
Okay.
So I think the biggest problem is that you're involved with crypto. There's no controls. There's no security. There's zero. I mean, there's just zero. There's no, of course, in 2008 when the banking system collapsed, you could say the same thing about banks, I guess. But but there's sure no FDIC for crypto.
I think the SEC is trying to move in on that.
Yep.
Massively.
Yep. You're exactly right. And when that happens,
a lot of they're already trying to make a move on Ethereum right now.
Oh, is that right?
Just dropped the price down massively over the better half of
wow.
day.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that, but I'm not surprised. Man.
The second biggest cryptocurrency in the world.
Yeah.
That's juicy.
No. Well, what I think a smart thing to do is to make a few $100 million in crypto and then put it on a thumb drive and lose it in the trash. That to me is, like that guy who did that. What a great idea that was.
There's a guy in the there's a story about a guy in the UK that apparently dumped it in the trash, and he's now asking the community, I think his local government, if he can actually he's even put together an investment plan for it as well, which is quite funny.
Yeah. I mean, I read things like that and I just go, God, what does that guy live in Florida? I mean, who would do that? But what do I know? So, yeah, so crypto is really interesting. I do think that virtual reality really is going to boom. I don't think
it's going to be operated and done by Facebook. I think it'll be done by some type of crypto platform.
Yep, I agree. I don't think Facebook has. Well, look at their percentage of younger users. What is it now? 0? And it's not going to be, folks drinking Geritol who are going to be in virtual reality, with an avatar that looks like, something obscene. It's going to be somebody. That's why I think the possibility of, virtual travel and things like that might appeal to the older crowd. But
yeah, that could potentially. They could probably do that. They could do that. Or what about like virtual hotels or virtual like freaking nightclubs or stuff like that?
Yeah, they're out there already. I visited a few. I have a friend of mine who's pretty involved with it, and
interesting.
And there's people buying that real estate,
virtual
online. Yeah, and you go into a virtual bar or a virtual hotel. Well, it's interesting from the standpoint you can really talk with people, but you can't exactly slug down virtual scotch,
But here's another aspect they could do that. What if they launched virtual events? So like how the like NBA games and that through the metaverse or through virtual reality, you could watch it through virtual reality and you could feel like you're actually being a part.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think there's going to be things that where
you're actually watching them in the virtual reality and you can actually make it feel like it's lifelike.
Yeah, I think what's going to come out of it, we cannot truly imagine at this point. I don't know if you guys or you all have read Snow Crash, which was the first science fiction book about basically living in the virtual world. And the author predicted a lot of stuff which has come true. But I just think it's going to be like TikTok and Instagram and other things where who knew,
Yeah. So what do you think about NFTs and non-fungible tokens?
Well,
yeah, big fan.
You ever heard of the tulip crash in the 1500s?
No.
Okay, well, that's kind of the medieval equivalent of that, where in Holland, producer of tulips, at one time was punishable by death to steal tulip bulbs. Yeah, I'm not kidding, really. And there got to be a run-up in the value of tulip bulbs. I got a red tulip bulb for sale. And I mean, they got to be the equivalent of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was a plant, for Christ's sake, that, you could cut up a tulip bulb and grow 20 tulip bulbs. And when the crash came, it basically destroyed Holland as a world merchant power. And that's how I view the NFT thing. I think, if you got more money than brains, go ahead and buy one.
I do think though it'll be like crypto. The ones that have actual real life use cases will survive, and the ones that don't will go extinct.
Yeah, the question I've always had is that how do you protect them? It may be I just don't know enough.
Through a virtual wallet like a ledger or a digital wallet.
Yeah, I was going to make a comparison with a painting, but even museums get robbed.
Yeah.
And I'm working with a group now that is considered the world leader in iris identification. You look at something and it reads the back of your eye, which and it's tied into blockchain, and then you get a virtual wallet into which you can store all your stuff. And the theory being that no one can open it who doesn't have your iris.
So you mean like your fingerprint and that, like your
yeah.
own... Yeah. That's actually an interesting concept.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
Your DNA. But then again, what happens if someone literally cuts off your ear or your arm?
Yeah. Well, that's right. And an old James Bond movie had the hero using some dead person's eye to hold up to a lens so it would identify the iris and open the... So, there's... I don't know. Human beings... There's an old saying that says you can't make anything foolproof because fools are so ingenious. I mean...
To make something where, would you be able to set to a point where, if the person's dead, you would no longer be able to activate it?
I would suspect so now. Probably having to do with what happens to your blood or your vessels or whatever when you leave this mortal plane, but I don't know for sure.
Any questions you guys would like to answer or ask?
Well, I think we've reached the end of the episode. It was great having you here, Wayne, talking about crypto and catch up with whatever. That's been absolutely amazing.
I enjoyed every minute of it, guys.
No problem.
As do I. And until next time, stay opinionated.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye-bye.